Good evening, everybody. Welcome, committee members, officers and visitors. Before we get to the agenda, may I take this opportunity to advise you that we are not expecting the fire alarm to sound. So if it does, please remain seated, and Mrs Matthews, on my right, will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if appropriate. Tonight proceedings will be webcast by the Council, but if anybody else is intended to record these proceedings, can you please let me know now? I ask a question not to stop you, but merely to ensure that members and other members of the public in the room know that this is taking place. Thank you. Now to the agenda. Agenda item 1, apologies for absences. Do we have any apologies? Mrs Matthews?
We do. Councillor Mrs Robertson.
Thank you. Notifications of substitute members. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Cox standing in for Cynthia. Councillor Robertson.
Oh, yes. Agenda item 3, urgent items. We do not have any urgent items, but then saying that, we actually do. And I presume Mrs Woodhouse will explain why.
I'd be delighted to. So, for agenda item, check which one it is. Agenda item 12, your Appendix B is incorrect. So we have a new Appendix B, you'll be delighted to hear, with the right areas on it. Well done to those of you who spotted it, and I will circulate that when we get to the item. My apologies.
Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 4, notification of visiting members. Can any members come forward to the desk and state your name?
Councillor Faye Gooch. I wish to speak on items 13 and 16, please. Thank you.
Agenda item 5, disclosures by members and officers. Are there any disclosure from members and officers? I'd like to say that I do have a disclosure of interest myself. I am a trustee of the Citizen Advice Bureau and will therefore leave the room when agenda item 16, which relates to the service level arrangements review and grant budget, is discussed, and the Vice Chair, Councillor Derek Mortimer, will take the chair. Thank you. I have no intentions of voting or being in the building. Thank you. Agenda item 6, disclosures of lobbying, and are there any disclosures of lobbying members?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been lobbying on agenda item 16.
The same myself. Councillor Mortimer? 16. Councillor Joy?
All 16.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody. Agenda item 7, to consider whether any items should be taken in private because of the possible disclosure of exempt information. There are yellow papers tonight on the agenda, so I propose we take these items in closed session as per the agenda. Is that agreed, members? Agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 8, we now turn to the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of December, which starts at page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. And finally, page 5. Does everybody agree they are a true record of? Thank you. Agenda item 9, presentation of petitions, if any. Mrs Matthew, I understand that we do not have any. Is that correct? We don't have any. Okay. Agenda item 10, question and answer sessions for members of the public. I understand we have a question and 3 organisations have indicated that they wish to give a statement. These all relate to agenda item 16 on the service level agreements review and grant budgets. I will take the questions first and then the 3 statements. Ms Ogg, do you want to approach the speakers table? Once you are ready, can you press the middle button to speak and then press it again once you have finished? Thank you.
Council support is vital for charities within Maidstone to provide the help that meets the needs of local people such as Citizens Advice Bureau, Age UK, homeless centres, to name a few of many. Without council support, these charities, which many have volunteers to provide much needed services for the public, would indeed struggle to carry on, which would inevitably fall to the council to then provide help to people. In the long term, this would cost the council more money to pay staff to provide these services that will not have the expertise of the charities that provide them at present. Is it true that the council still plans in cutting down the money given to these charities, including the ones mentioned, that have been supported by Maidstone Borough Council for up to 15 years, which have in the past and continue to provide exceptional service to all residents of the borough that rely on the council's support in order to survive?
Thank you, Ms Ogg. I'm now going to pass this over to Mr Cornell to give the response.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Council acknowledges the important role that the third sector delivers, providing a range of services that are not necessarily within the remit of the Council to supply, but support the wider needs of residents within our community. The Council, through the medium-term financial strategy, has to tailor its services according to the resources available in an environment of continuing austerity. The proposed medium-term financial strategy reflects that position, and the draft settlement to the third sector enables the Council to continue funding key services while recognising the need for reform. Thank you.
Please, may I ask, do you have a supplementary question? Thank you very much for your time tonight. It is appreciated. Mr Mohad, would you like to come to the table? And you have 3 minutes to read out your statement to the committee. Thank you. Please again press the middle button.
I hope you can hear me now. Okay, I'd like to speak on behalf of the whole voluntary sector here in Maidstone. The voluntary sector would like to thank the council officers and cross-party members for responding positively to recent consultations. The voluntary agencies in Maidstone work closely and effectively with the council in supporting and helping our community. Life in our community would be poorer without this service, and life for people who get our support would be a lot more difficult if the service was diminished. Citizens Advice directly helps thousands of people every year, each with their different and unique backgrounds, problems and needs. Our free, impartial and independent and confidential advice is crucial and is highly valued by individuals and society as a whole. We are professional in our advice giving and meet people in the midst of their problems, tailoring our advice to help them find a way forward. Our clients often refer to the help they receive as priceless, invaluable, or life-changing. Our value stems from the way we help the people problems affecting individuals. These problems often have a detrimental impact on their lives and on our communities. Outcomes of our advice can include debts managed, jobs kept, rights established, incomes maximised, lives changed, families kept together, homes secured, worries, stress and depression overcome, and future problems averted. Our help saves money significantly for the local authorities by helping to prevent evictions and homelessness, For the DWP, by helping to maintain people in their work rather than on benefits. And for the NHS, by improving people's health and well-being. By maximising clients' income, they can maintain a good standard of living and reduce the likelihood of using high-cost credit to keep up rent and utilities. This income gained is spent locally, benefiting our communities. With housing problems, the impact and associated costs can be severe to both the people involved and the local authority if the situation is not resolved. We cannot provide our service without our volunteers, who come from a wide range of backgrounds helping us deliver advice and education. Those who volunteer with us gain confidence, self-esteem, often move into paid employment, improving both their health and well-being. In short, we believe that the residents of Maidstone will continue to need and benefit from the advice and support of Citizens Advice Maidstone. In turn, we need the support of the Borough Council if we are to continue this service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you'd like to go back to the gallery. Can I now ask for Miss Salisbury to approach the speaker's table, please?
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for asking us to come along this evening. Maidstone Mediation is different. It is a Maidstone charity serving the people of Maidstone, much like yourself as members. It is unique to other charities, not in its noble cause, but in its position in the Community Safety Partnership and in the community. In 1989, a need was identified by Maidstone Borough Council and Victim Support, a need for a mediation service in the community. Now, the need is even greater, with fewer statutory agencies and resources. 27 years on, the community is bigger, more diverse, with issues more complex and often more serious. Maidstone Mediation fills the gap where other agencies just no longer have the resources. If we don't do this work, then who will? There is no one. The gap will get bigger and the issues will escalate. The victim's agenda will fall by the wayside. Our work in the community encourages householders, young and old people, to have that social responsibility. Our volunteers are Maidstone people working in the community in Maidstone. We work towards Maidstone Borough Council's strategic plans priorities, reducing antisocial behaviour, reducing reoffending, domestic violence and road safety for people that would be killed or seriously injured. Restorative justice, family mediation, anger management all go towards reducing that, and that is the work that we do in the community. Working in the home, working with families, helping them to find a way forward for their own agreements so that they don't make their children homeless, so that they don't enter their children into the criminal justice system when there has been adolescent parent violence. Helping them to understand how their behaviour is affecting everybody else. Their risky behaviour, drinking, drug driving, causing death by dangerous driving, or people being seriously injured. The family mediation helps reduce adolescent to parent violence. The family mediation helps people get back into school, the NEETs back into education, employment and training. All of this work reduces the number of calls to the police, environmental health and GPs. The work in schools contributes to all of this also. Nowadays there are fewer resources in schools. There is no police attendance as there used to be, and the schools tells us that this makes a difference. We're in over 34 schools in Maidstone with 2 bespoke workers working in senior schools, doing conflict resolution and teaching the teachers about conflict resolution. Our neighbourhood work reduces post-traumatic stress, depression within households, thus reducing young people and adults going on medication, going to their GPs. Maidstone Mediation is like an octopus. Its tentacles reach out to all areas, quietly working in the community towards a safer, more peaceful community and a more pleasant environment to live in. The funding that you give us is £10,000. If we cease to exist, The cost of that will escalate way beyond that because there will be no one else to do that work that we do. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of bits over, but you're more than welcome to finish. Thank you very much. If you'd like to go back to the gallery, thank you. There's Mr. Hughes, but Jacqueline as well. Yes. Okay, can I ask Jacqueline and Mr. Hughes? I don't know if you're sharing it, but it's 3 minutes, I've been told. Been told off now. Thank you, welcome.
Hi, good evening everybody. My name's Danny and I'm Deputy CEO at Involve Kent. I'd like to pass over to Jacqueline who is going to read a statement on behalf of Involve.
Thank you for inviting us here this evening. Am I speaking into the mic okay? Yeah. We run essential forums and networks so the Council can meet its duty to consult and engage residents, that being older people, disabled, BME, children and young people and community groups. The Council outsource these forums to us with this funding as we can get greater access and engagement from the most vulnerable and disadvantaged. Officers use these forums to ensure plans and policies are appropriate for all residents, for example ensuring plans for the redevelopment of the town meet the needs of the elderly and disabled. They provide a voice for the most disenfranchised. Our BME forum greatly contributes to improved community cohesion, bringing hundreds of people and communities together in Maidstone. Number 2, we use this funding to support hundreds of other local charities and community groups, and KCC's cutting funding and charities are struggling. We help them find other funding, collaborate and come together to solve community issues. They tell us our support is essential to help them run well and support people across the borough. Number 4, lastly, this funding pays for us to represent the voluntary and community sector by feeding in their views and advising officers and groups, often at a very strategic level. For example, we're helping the Health and Wellbeing Board understand how the voluntary sector can improve health services and save NHS money. Already this funding only contributes to this work and we've had other funding cuts from KCC. Any cut to this grant, which pays directly for staff time, would mean we can help less charities and groups to survive and provide less support to the Council at a time when the voluntary sector is so important to our most vulnerable residents' lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No more? No. Thank you. If you'd like to go back to the gallery. I would like to thank all visitors coming tonight. I think it was quite clear and positive. But it is on Yellow Pages tonight. I think that's for councillors to question themselves about later. But once again, I'd like to thank you. You're more than happy to stay for the rest of the meeting. But if you'd like to leave, then that's entirely down to yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We now... Sorry. Thank you. Right, we now turn to agenda item 11, to the Works programme. Do members want to make any comments on anything that's been printed? Councillor Webb?
Thank you. I was looking through there and we've got monitoring report coming in February for crime and disorder new strategy assessment approach, and in April Safer Maidstone Partnership. Are we having a crime and disorder committee meeting or is there not any plans?
No, that's it. That is, yeah.
That will be the meeting in February, February or April?
That's February, yeah. And it'll be recapped again in the April. mostly the April one will be the working arrangements that they have on the Safer Committee, Crime and Order Committee. So, and by all accounts, this is why we've had to agree to have it a bit later, because now they're gathering information in a different way. So we'll look forward to them explaining that on the night. Is that okay? Councillor Mortimer?
Yes, good comments, Chair, there. I'd like to put something on the radar for this committee. I don't know whether you're aware, but the government is going to hopefully soon make an announcement regarding throwing litter out of cars. And I hope you're going to all support this, and we ought to get it on the work programme. Now, I'm not suggesting we have it as a separate item, so possibly if we have anything from enforcement coming up in the near future sort of thing, and we can pick up on this. I mean, and I understand that basically the government's going to give local authority greater powers to bring in PCNs, etc. So, and I'd just like to flag it up.
I was going to say, that's already in the pipeline. Officers are already working on it, and they're quite happy to come to the committee to present that as and when they know exactly what this this ruling would be from government. Yeah, quite happy with that. Councillor Joy?
I'm happy with that. But just to say, would it hurt if it just came on if it was on the work programme list?
Yeah, well, we can stick it on there, but it hasn't gone through Parliament yet. It's a watching brief, really. As soon as we know what the rules and regulations are going to be, then the officers know how to write that, particularly for Maidstone Borough. Like we did the other ones with the litting and putting the money up. That's what we'll be looking at. So you're quite happy with that? Yeah, add it on the bottom of that list just as a watching brief, yeah? Yeah, more than interest. I think that'd be quite an interesting one. Anybody else? No? Okay. So no more on the works programme then. Quite happy with what we got coming up, which is exciting because quite a lot over the next few months. Mark? Sorry. Anybody else like to say anything, officers? No? Okay then, thank you very much. So now we'll move on to agenda item 12, report with the Head of Policy and Communication, Strategic Plan 2015-20, 2017-18. Thank you. Mark? Oh no, sorry, it's Angela. Oh God, sorry.
It's all right. I'm not offended. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I didn't turn the page.
Yes, so those of you will be aware that this has already been to Policies and Resources Committee. They agreed in September that the current strategic plan would be refreshed and not to draft a new plan. So as such, you've got a plan here to consider tonight. The main areas of focus for this committee are providing a clean and safe environment, encouraging good health and well-being, and a home for everyone. Then there is also some crossover with respecting the character and heritage of our borough, because that refers to the natural environment, and ensuring there are good leisure and cultural attractions, as parks are a key part of our leisure attractions in the borough. So it's really over to you. The other thing is, if we do, tonight you're asked to look at indicators as well, so I'll circulate the list so you've got them to look at, and I'm happy to take questions. We'll go from there.
Okay. We've all discussed earlier that basically we've asked one member of the committee, and John, you come in whenever you like, on where we see the idea of the strategic plan, because then officers are going to put it up on the screen and we can actually see as it's being written on a way forward. Is everybody quite happy with that? Yeah? I'm sorry for his sins. I nominated Councillor Burton because I thought it'd be awkward with me being the chair. And I presume, Councillor Mortimer, it's you for your team. Yeah? Yeah, and John, that's what I said. Yeah, and John. Well, I did say come in whenever you want to, John. You're more than welcome. Sorry. Okay. Let's not toss a coin. Would you like to go first, Eric?
Thank you very much. I'll try and do this as slowly as possible, and I'll try and repeat things, so hopefully we can get them all together, but I'm not putting any money on it. Essentially, our group, we agree with the front page, basically, the layout and the amendments by SPST, especially regarding the Home for Everyone changes, planning for the delivery of sufficient homes to meet the borough's needs. So, and we're quite happy with the change out, with the values that are going in the back with the strategy map as well for there. And then if I can turn over the page and providing a clean and safe environment, some amendments, and if I could read this all the way through, and then it'll sort of hopefully make sense as I carry through it. Maidstone Borough Council has demonstrated its commitment to deliver cost-effective and sustainable waste and recycling services. I would like to delete the next, after the comma, as a result of recycling rate has improved significantly. And then we carry on with Maidstone does not experience high levels of crime. We have our community safety partnership agreed that reducing antisocial behaviour, domestic abuse, reoffending and improving road safety are our priorities until 2018. We're happy with that. We would like to delete the section during the first year of the strategic plan, because that's already obviously passed. And we will start a new sentence with the council has introduced a street cleansing service designed to meet the current and future needs of the borough. And on from that, we'd like to add, and we will ensure that we meet that objective. So it reinforces that particular statement. Ensure that we meet. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Thank you. And then under We Mean, we've got people feel safe in the borough and they live in, and then we've got a line through the next bit, an attractive, safe, so that's an addition, safe and clean environment. Under We Will, we would like to put, we would like to delete the reference to deliver the air quality strategy working with partners action plan, and then take that out, and we'd like to deliver an air quality / low emissions action plan. I beg your pardon, produce and deliver an air quality low emissions action plan. Sorry? Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. On to the next section, encouraging good health and well-being. There's going to be a change, I think, in the numbering in that, the figures. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. And then we'd like to keep it basically. Sorry.
Would it be better just to stick with this one? Get the first one out the way. You quite happy with that, everybody? Thank you. Councillor Joy?
I want to come in, but because we were on, can I go back to the first page?
Okay.
And we've got our vision and our mission. Can I suggest, and hopefully you'll agree, that it goes our mission before the vision, because it's putting people first, which is one of our...
Can I ask Mrs Woodhouse to come in, please?
forgive me for this, but the SPST have recommended that change, and you've already agreed that you agree with their changes. That's covered.
Okay. So, before we go on to the next one then, let's stay with the providing a clean and safe environment. Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will just turn our attention quickly to this first page, echo the sentiments that the SPST have made a correct change around there. We'd like to see the original wording of the action plan maintained, so the Home for Everyone element remains as it previously was. And one other thing we'd like to add, which I also think was an SPST recommendation, was to move the Our Values section to a back page, just so that we've got that clarified. It's, you know, it's useful to have there, but I think it's also a bit of an internal purposes element to the document. Moving on to the providing a clean and safe environment. Sorry, bear with me a second. I think largely, and this isn't something that we've discussed as a group, so my fellow Conservative members might want to come in on this, but I personally don't have any problem with the suggested changes to that opening paragraph. I think it's probably quite important that we underline, that we make the point that achievements in recycling are to be continued. During the first year of the strategic plan, that's an element that continues on. Where we would propose something slightly different is to remove the words "and attractive" in the "we mean" section, purely because we feel that this is a highly subjective and unnecessary element. I know we're not at the point here yet of considering KPIs, but I would really struggle to see how we would measure our achievement of attractiveness, given that it's such a subjective thing. So we're going to propose that that's removed, that phrase. Turning attention to the "we will" section, the bottom 2 points, we would like to keep these as strategies as opposed to referring to specific action plans. We feel that with this being a high-level strategy document, it should remain as such and not refer to operational level documents and plans. We feel that this keeps it open-ended as to what in addition we might like to achieve. And I also think that it's important that not just the air quality section, but also the community safety section includes that we will be working with partners.
Councillor Cox.
Councillor Burton, the only reason I think why we like the word attractive is so we encourage our planners and the developers that come to us to not just say, well, we're just going to build houses, that they must be attractive, well-designed. So rather than putting in here a well-designed environment, attractive seems to work. And not just saying everything should be, you know, colour-coded or anything like that. I think it's a broader meaning. And I think we're trying to say, you know, don't just give us anything. Give us something that's considered. It's got to be attractive. It's got to work. It's got to be in keeping with our county town. We are the Garden of England. So I think it's to take it out. I like your other changes. So,
Councillor Burton.
Yes, if I may come back on that. Councillor Cox, you sit on planning. I sub on planning fairly regularly. I think we both know and could agree that actually the attractiveness of a particular development is quite often something of quite rigorous debate, and I do really struggle to see how we would maintain a measure of the attractiveness of our borough that would be agreeable to all members, let alone all residents. So I do still think that it is an unnecessary and heavily subjective word, And I think we run ourselves potentially into trouble by trying to measure attractiveness. Is something that those who study aesthetics have argued over for many centuries now. And if we can solve it, well, we should pat ourselves on the back, I think.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask John, is there anything you'd like to add to that? No? Okay. Councillor Cox?
Madam Chairman, if it's a question of being subjective or democratic about this, can we have a vote to keep the word attractive in, please?
We're just heading that way. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was comfortable. I do, just as myself, just very quickly, it is down to us to have everything attractive, but what worries me under that environment title is we don't want to lead people on to think that is the be-all and end-all, because really what they're asking is to make sure their streets are clean, their bins are emptied, we're doing our best that we can on recycling and going forward, which we do with another 13 councils. So that was the only thing that sort of we didn't want to go and blind it by what we will be telling the public and our staff. So, Councillor Mortimer, sorry.
I'd just like to mention something quickly, Chair, is that at SPST we actually had a few brief straw polls. Where instead of voting, we just had our hands up quickly and said we agreed or we didn't agree, so the Chair knew where we were coming from. So. Okay. So are we quite happy with that? I just don't want to miss anything. So could I just ask to check, what are we voting on first? The whole paragraph.
The first paragraph.
The first one, yeah?
Start with that.
So, for changing? Yeah? Yeah. Anybody against? No? Okay. Next speaker.
Then it's we mean, isn't it?
Yeah, the we mean.
That one.
Sorry, it's hard for me to keep turning round. I can't see that far. Yeah. Sorry. So what are we looking at next, people?
So we're now looking at the we mean section.
Yeah.
So it's people feel safe in the borough and they live in either an attractive, safe and clean environment or a safe and clean environment. So you might want to take the two wordings one at a time.
Yeah. With attractive?
Yeah, with attractive.
And against? Yep, attractive is gone. Now we are on we will.
Yes.
And if I'm not wrong, is it the last two that we were
Oh, the last one.
with partners?
So, my understanding is you've had two different suggestions put forward. The first is really that you retain the original wording, well, from this side. The other is that the wording be changed as amended up there in the blue. Is that correct?
So, sorry.
If I may, I think there was one change that we were putting forward, which was just to include working with partners under the community safety element.
Yeah.
So that would be the only change that that I'm proposing.
So, if I just say for these changes that you recommended, for
everything up there.
We've got two different options.
now, what you've seen is what you've put up. Have you put our change up? Sorry, I really can't turn round anymore.
Yeah, so we put a combination of the two. Yeah.
Everything up there.
So do you want me to read it
Yeah,
out?
yeah, please.
If I read it out. So we have working with partners to deliver the Community Safety Strategy 2017 to 18.
Yeah. Everybody agree with that? Quite happy with that? Just show your hands, please, and then we know. Thank you. And now we're the last one on that bit. Please.
Okay, so this is where you've got the suggestion to keep the original wording, which was deliver the air quality strategy working with partners, or produce and deliver an air quality / low emissions strategy.
So shall we take the first one, working with partners? Yes? So can I have people for that, please? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll just wait for them to catch up. Bless them. We've done that right, haven't we? Yeah. Lovely, lovely, well done. So that's that bit? Yeah.
Before we move on, can I just go back to the action, which was on page 1?
Action.
Yeah, and Councillor Burton said about deleting leaving in a home for everyone.
No, that was...
You...
Yeah.
Yeah, he reiterated,
What we said, or what we...
SPST, this is what Councillor Burton was referring to, SPST agreed to revert it almost back to the original wording, the addition of 2 words. So SPST agreed to planning and delivery for sufficient homes to meet our borough's needs.
Yeah? Oh, okay, yeah, no. No, what they, okay, yeah. I know you're attractive, Councillor Cox, so it's okay. Okay. All right. Okay, everybody. So now we're going on to the next bit, encouraging good health and well-being. Again, we'll deal with this one, and then after that, we will, because really that's our bit, but we have got other bits on other pages that the officers would be quite happy to point out to us. So would you like to carry on, Councillor Mortimer?
Thank you. Yeah, obviously the first paragraph is going to be updated through there. Okay. This is a point for myself, actually, when I was looking through today, is that under the we will section, we've actually got deliver and health, and then it's got struck out equalities action plan and well-being action plan. Now, I've tried to find the well-being action plan, and I can't find one anywhere. That's on. I've only done it online.
There is
but we do have an inequalities action plan.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a query there.
Just quickly, to like to come back up on that. That's something that will be coming forward to the committee, because we only looked at that about a month ago, wasn't it? About a month. Or could have just been before Christmas to agree, aren't we? That's the way we want to go forward. So,
One of the questions is what should we think should be there at this moment in time, and what should be taken out? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, officers? I know what we're heading for.
I believe it's the health and wellbeing strategy. But I'm happy to take that away and make sure I've got the right information. If you're happy for me to do that, by the time it goes to P&R, that's got the correct one in it. But as far as I'm concerned, the same as Councillor Ring, that's what it's been replaced with. So you want the most current version in here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then carrying on from that, we would like something put in, we will, for sports strategy, because this is relating to good health. So we would like something update and deliver the sports strategy.
No.
Leisure.
That's another committee. Sorry.
I think it's important to have something in there because, I mean, to actually support that. That's one of the only ways this council can actually take a health initiative is through leisure and sport of the residents.
I don't agree with that. So is that all on there, Derek? And then if we'll get the other side in. Yeah, well, if we get the other side in, we can put that all. John, anything for you? No? Okay. Matt?
Thank you. I think we largely agree on this section, with the exception of the addition of delivering a sports strategy. It's not something that is directly within our remit as a council. It's certainly not within the remit of this committee. The only place where we perhaps come close to it is the fact that HCL have some oversight of the leisure centre, and that is, to me, the only synergy that exists there. You're shaking your head.
I do totally disagree with you. We've got numerous sporting partners, clubs, associations in Maidstone where the Borough Council could promote, get grants, etc., tackling obesity, etc., etc. So that's where I'm coming from a resident's point of view.
If you're coming from a resident's point of view, if I may just, if we could all cast our minds back to the budget consultation that previously took place, I believe that sporting elements ranked very, very lowly in that consultation. And at the end of the day, if one of our key strategic priorities is something that actually ranks very lowly in that respect, I think we're missing the point of what this document's trying to achieve a little bit.
Unfortunately, I disagree again, because I would say that we are lacking in our responsibilities as a council and not supporting residents in leisure and sporting activities, and we should mention it in the strategic plan somewhere.
Just a moment. Can I bring in Councillor Cox, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I would, if Councillor Burton's reference to sport is that we shouldn't really be looking after it, it's nothing to do with us, can you let me know how the Health and Wellbeing Action Plan, does it just tell people to sit down and don't do anything? Or should they be able to go and run in parks? And should we be a conduit so that we can say there are hockey clubs, you've just come to Maidstone, welcome to Maidstone, and we should at least acknowledge from within the council that we know they're there and that we could at some time be a conduit so that people can come to us and say, do you know where there are any? Yes, we do. So I do think we can't ignore it, and I think we're just saying that we should express a fact that there is a sport concern that we should be looking at. I'm not saying that we cast £100,000 towards it, but we may be able to say that, look at the facilities we have, we present the areas for you to run on, and we present football nets and posts, and so there is an element, and that I believe, are looking at things where we could charge people to use our parks. So I think we should look at it and not turn our nose up.
I'd like to come in a little bit here. I understand what's coming from both sides, but at the end of the day, we don't want to give our residents the wrong information, and shouldn't that element of what you're asking be actually in the Health and Wellbeing Board? Because isn't it a partnership with all of them that will guide us on the way forward? So if the Health and Wellbeing document that will be in everybody, if it's sport, would they not carry that on? all we're trying to do is that a strategic plan for Maidstone Borough Council? Do we have the officers? Do we have the budget? And if it's just advertising, they're quite happy to we produce the what's on, which is anybody in the whole of the borough can actually get in contact with to advertise. That's all I'm saying. Is that what you're saying, like the sports and everything? Is that something that will be taken up in the Health and Wellbeing Board under that strategic side of it? That's all I'm asking. So, Councillor Burton.
Thank you. I actually think we agree, and maybe we're just trying to reach the same point by different means. I do think, quite as Councillor Ring is suggesting, that the Health and Wellbeing Action Plan absolutely should be something that is a tool for steering people towards a more active lifestyle. Absolutely. But what I'm objecting to isn't the fact that we perhaps have that element within a wellbeing plan. We're now getting into the nitty-gritty of what the plan will be, which this document doesn't deal with. But if we include it as an additional line, bearing in mind that this is a revision, not a total rewrite of this document, it also has operational consequences, and it does come down to the fact that if we intend to have an additional strategy or an additional plan, there is additional officers' time that goes into producing that and so on. So I'm not saying that we don't strive to achieve what we're largely agreeing on here, but that actually there's already a tool that facilitates that in here, and I just think it's an unnecessary inclusion that will have operational implications.
Sorry, Councillor Joy.
I think this is going to get a bit complicated because, as you say, we can delve in it in a different way. I suppose the word I'm looking at using is something as simple as leisure activities, which can be for anyone's well-being, whether they want to jog or go and use any facilities. So I'm wondering whether the officers could help here and or the directors, I don't know which director would be responsible for this, whether we could have a little bit of help from them, please.
I think basically what we're saying, if it's leisure, then that is a completely different committee. It isn't ours, so maybe it needs to be brought up there. Yes? Sorry to cop out, but at the end of the day, we wouldn't be happy if they were discussing our meeting. Councillor Perry, next.
Thank you. Just an observation. I think we're just saying the same thing twice, actually, because sports, or sport, whatever you want to call it, is all part of health and well-being. So you don't need, we're talking about a strategic document here. We're not talking about a detailed plan. You don't need it. It's covered in that strategic statement. So I'm for just keeping it, health and well-being.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Cox?
So would you agree then that we could just, on that, deliver our health and inequalities action plan and well-being, if that's what we're now keeping, put brackets, which should include sporting activities. End brackets.
Will include...
Because or else we're going to be sort of saying... Well, of course the action plan, because we don't state what the action plan includes.
No. Doesn't need it. Sorry. William?
Yes, well, we are referring to a lot of this activity within a 10-year parks strategy, a document that's being produced. So there's a commitment there that's going to touch on some of these things, but I don't think we want to go to another level of detail beyond that, because obviously to produce a strategy, then you're going to have to put further financial resource behind it to deliver it. So I would possibly urge a little caution on that.
So you are saying that within the Moat Park 10-year plan, it talks about sport?
No,
the wider plan does talk about sport, but we don't want to mention sport in the good health and well-being section at all. It should be kept under a bushel.
But the Health and Wellbeing Board is also with partners. It isn't. It's a strategic plan with partners that we're already a part of. Sorry, Derek. Councillor Burton, then you.
Thank you. I think we're running the risk of getting onto a very slippery slope here with this, because this document should be as minimal in its wording and detail and as broad and overarching as we see our aims as a council being. So we have to take the responsibility as members that when we're considering a health and well-being action plan in conjunction with our partners, that we will ensure that sport is included when we're discussing that detail. But if you're going to put it in this document, we may as well also include, we have a housing strategy, so I'd like a line in here about exactly which kind of frosting you'll use on windows when you're building houses. You know, this is the slippery slope that we get into. So we keep this minimal, and actually when it comes to detailing those documents and passing them and implementing them, that's where we ensure, if that's what we agree, that sport should be included in it. It doesn't need to be in here.
So I think that's very good. I'll let you come back, Councillor Moore.
Thank
but
you.
After that, can we just yes or no? And
I know where you're coming from. I mean, the main reason that we've brought it up is because it's a we will and it's an action. That's the main. And we make reference to it in the we mean halfway down. So not to go over it again, but to meet our residents' health and well-being, good health and well-being, what we're saying is we ought to have some overarching something in the policy to actually support sport and leisure, which everybody else is talking about.
Okay, let's. This isn't the Leisure Committee, so I must really, really point that out. But I'd like to come in now. So can we have a look at, do we agree with what Councillor Mortimer is saying? Hands up. You agree with? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Can I have disagreements, if any? Any abstentions? Thank you. So that's 4-4. Can I do the casting vote? I will pass my casting vote, and I agree with my colleagues on this side. Sorry. It's only because you didn't put ballet in. I was very upset. No, sorry. Okay. No, I'm not going to come back on that, Councillor Mortimer.
I just wanted to mention one thing. Can we refer this sporting leisure to HCL committee?
Every councillor's got any right to pass this on to anywhere. You don't need to ask that question. But all we're looking at is what comes under our committee. Okay, everybody? Thank you. The only other one that I can see on there, you didn't mention, Councillor Mortimer, was work with businesses to promote health and well-being. I don't even know why that was in there in the first place, to be honest with you. So that's deleted, and we're happy. No, I'm just checking that we're happy that that is deleted. Okay, everybody. Now I'm going to ask Mrs. Woodhouse if you could really help us out here with anything that goes across to any other committee that we can pick under Chi.
Right. So working our way through the document, respecting the character and heritage of our borough has an element about the environment and landscape, so therefore does cross into this committee if you did want to recommend changes. Obviously, HCL also have this, and SPST made a recommendation as well. At SPST, they've recommended that we deliver the blue and green infrastructure strategy and the biodiversity action plan. That's come out of SPST. So it's whether you wanted to make any suggested changes to this section, because there is a bit of crossover.
No. I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask a question. I find it really strange that we worked on the parish charter where you've got a parish champion. We're still committed to working with the parishes, but it comes under another committee. That's the only thing that I find strange, because I think it's such an important thing to keep relationship with parishes. I don't want to go and miss anything. So are we doing it, or are they going to do it?
If I may...
I'll bring in Councillor Perry afterwards, sorry.
Well, the title of our committee is Communities, and parishes are part of our community. And it always was. I mean, when we agreed the parish charter, we agreed it in this committee. And therefore, I think it should be in this committee. I know these cross-border things, it is not a criticism of officers at all on this, but I do think it should be under our remit. I do. Because it is the parish charter. And any community's charter really should be, whether it's a parish charter or whether, you know, it can be a residents' association grouping. You know,
exactly.
it's not just parishes.
Yeah.
So I fully support that. Thank you.
Anybody? Yeah.
I mean, on that point, I mean, why can't it just hang between both? And it should be on the we, so where are we saying? Are we saying it's on the we will? Yeah, we will. It could be exactly here as well, because you've had dealings with the parishes, so do they. I don't think it should come out from one onto another, but I think where we said at the beginning there are places where it crosses over, I think that's very good to keep the lines open. So I would certainly agree to put it in both.
Okay. Councillor Burton?
This isn't related to the parish charter element. This is just broadly discussing this section, if we're moving on to do that. I would like to sort of take issue a little bit with the recommendations that came out of SPST on this section. The Biodiversity Action Plan, once again, you'll notice a theme developing here, I think is very much an operational level rather than a strategic level document and element to introduce here. My understanding is that it is included in some of our broader overarching strategies and plans. Am I not correct in saying that it's an element of the local plans?
Yes.
So I think we're unnecessarily bringing additional operational information here. I'll accept that the blue and green infrastructure strategy is perhaps more of an overarching strategy, but again, it's an element of the local plan, which is referenced elsewhere. So, throw that one up for consideration.
Okay. Anybody else of that? Councillor Cox?
If I could come and speak to that, I think where SPS&T have made a recommendation and they put that in place, I think we'll be playing ping pong if we keep on. It's where the crossovers we might suggest that should be looked at by the correct committee. We might say we think it's debatable, but I don't think we should be saying at this committee, SPS&T have put that in, we'll take it out. I think it may be that you go to P&R when this is looked at as a final document and speak your reasons why you don't think it should be there.
Quickly, yeah.
Actually, I think that the process goes that we all have our individual seats on individual committees. Each committee is welcome to make suggestions to anything that is relevant to them. The environment is directly relevant to this committee. In fact, it forms a third of our committee title. We're putting forward a counter recommendation. It will be for P&R and then eventually full council to consider which of those recommendations they would take on board. So what I'm suggesting still stands. I don't think we're in danger of ping pong because this isn't then going to go back to SPS&T.
Okay, Councillor Perry.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't want to sound like a dog or an old bone on this, but the parish charter, what the remit of the parish charter was firmly, when this committee was set up, in this committee. It wasn't anything to do with heritage, culture and leisure. That's all I'm really saying. I don't want to die in a ditch on this if people want to, but it does seem to me that the original remit when this committee was set up was to the parish charter. So it should, that's technically, I think it should be with us, actually. For that reason, nothing else.
Would you like to come in? Yeah, sure.
Just a comment really. These priorities, the action areas it's hard to align them directly with each committee and keep it very strict because there is a lot of crossover across all of them. What I will say is, for example, on delivering on our parish charter, progress on the parish charter is reported here, the performance indicator is reported here, so we've recognised that. So try not to get too hung up on the title, respecting the character and heritage of our borough, because actually it means different things to different people. And you're right, half of this is you. Policy and resources might argue it's them because it's about listening to our community. So there's different bits in that will affect different people, and that's why you've got the opportunity tonight to comment and put your views forward to policy and resources on this. But there is crossover, you're right.
Yeah, I just think it's making a lot of us just realise when you're seeing it down as plain as this, where to work on. So, Councillor Mortimer.
I'd just like to come back on Councillor Burton's point about, I think you were saying that you didn't want the biodiversity mentioned and you didn't want the green and blue infrastructure mentioned.
I think certainly you are correct on the biodiversity action plan. That's very much sort of operational rather than the strategic level. I'd perhaps be more open to the green and blue infrastructure strategy because it's broader and overarching, but where I take issue with that is it does still form a part of the local plan, which is mentioned as the broader...
Yeah, I mean, essentially then, I think if you did take the biodiversity out and possibly the green and blue, you would then have to remove the line respecting our heritage and natural environment above.
No, sorry, I disagree entirely. I think the point I'm trying to make here is perhaps being misunderstood. These documents are included in a document that is one of our key objectives to deliver, and to mention them is kind of repetition for repetition's sake. That's my main point here. If this is the broad overarching strategy document, you cover those 2 points by saying that we will implement and deliver the local plan. That's included in here, and I don't think anybody's necessarily disputing that at this point. If we started to bring in those repetitions of every element of every strategic document, this would be 100 pages long.
Can we... okay. Just quickly, because somewhere along the line we've got to get a decision.
For example, then, the integrated transport strategy, you would say, we might as well not mention the walking and cycling strategy. But we have mentioned it, and we agreed it in SPST.
Precisely, that's what I'd suggest, yes.
Okay, no disrespect. Caroline, I wonder if you can catch up on, or Angela, what's going on here, because I want to find out a yes or no answer, because I think it's just... Right, vote on each one then. Okay. Could you, yeah. Yeah, please.
Okay, so the first one is deliver the blue and green infrastructure strategy to be added to the We Will section.
For that to happen, could I have hands? For? Against? Who's abstention then?
Is John abstaining?
No, John, did you put your hand up? Sorry, John. Sorry, I apologise.
You've got the casting vote again.
Casting vote, I say, with my colleagues this side.
That's 5 again.
Next one.
And the next one, please.
Is deliver the biodiversity action plan.
But I thought we already did that. No. Okay. For that? 4, 5, Against? Yeah, yes, sorry. Oh. Okay, so thank you very much. Is there any more?
That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your patience. I think we've all done well tonight.
This is to Mrs Woodhouse. If we don't, this document that we've then said, does that go to the next committee who will talk about this? Because my question is, SPS&T put those in, we've taken one out, so that's what I...
No, we haven't.
The way it works is each committee makes their own recommendations, so we avoid exactly that. It's just at this committee you're saying we support or we don't, because you already know what's happened to SPST, but they each go. So basically Policy and Resources will end up with 4 sets of recommendations, including its own, covering the strategic plan, and there'll be some similarities and some disagreements, and then they'll have to go through and agree or not on each.
I was going to say, are you bringing the cakeys tomorrow night? Thank you. Right, so the next one, please.
Okay, so the next one where there is crossover again is ensuring there are good leisure and cultural attractions. So you have a role in terms of parks and open spaces. Without bringing this back up, I think William touched on this earlier when he suggested there is is it a play area or open spaces 10-year park strategy?
Yeah, 10-year park strategy that's being produced, which will be coming to Heritage and Culture and Leisure Committee.
Yeah. So that's
the next couple of months. So I would make, if you're going to reference anything, I would reference that. Sorry. There's a 10-year park strategy that's going to be coming to the Heritage, Culture and Leisure Committee within the next 2 to 3 months, and that would be the document I would be referencing if you were going to reference any.
Yeah. Are we quite happy with that? Yeah? So all agreed on that? Yeah. No, on the one bit that concerns us, not the whole section. Is that right? That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, there might be things in there though that relate to you that need to be changed.
Okay. Would you like to start, Matt?
Yeah, I will speak to this then if that's what we're doing. If we do have a responsibility for parks, I believe that the changing of the 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet point down where you've got the direct reference to Moat Park.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's unnecessary and it pigeonholes us to a particular programme. This is the broadest document that we do, the lightest touch, and actually it should have the very open-ended reference to commercialisation, maintaining key services, etc. It doesn't need to say we're going to back a particular piece of land.
Councillor Cox.
So, might you agree if we look at the first paragraph and sort of make it a bit more rounded about all of our parks? So, if it went something like this, if I read it first and then if you like it, we can go back and write it down. There is always something to see or do in Maidstone Borough with its quality parks and open spaces, rivers, several museums, opportunities for sporting and leisure pursuits, historic buildings and monuments, markets and a variety of festivals and events held throughout the year.
No, we can't.
No, I'm just seeing whether people like... No, I said I'd come back. Yes? Because it's more overarching and it's not being specific. Shall I read it slower?
I think, again, that's for the other committee.
Okay.
Because, we deal with parks, so that should be just parks. What we're asking is, I don't think it's right that we're destinating for
It's
one
a crossover point.
area.
Okay.
Yes? No disrespect. Go on, Councillor Burton.
Yeah, if I may come back, whilst I agree with what Councillor Ring is saying, that, you know, we are risking encroaching on the territory of another committee here. If your point is that rather than the direct reference to Moat Park or the 4 green flag parks, you would just like to see quality parks, I think we could all support that, because, yes, that is quite the sentiment that I'm trying to put forward, that this should be as broad and overarching as possible.
So, quality parks. Yeah. All parks. Is that okay? Yeah. Well, I know it's up to us, but are we happy with that change? Yes.
In addition, just so we can get it up on the screen, I think the equal and opposite of that then is that the 4th bullet point down under "we will," we're suggesting that change be reversed. That we don't have deliver the programme of projects for a sustainable future for Moat Park, and instead we keep the original wording, maximise the benefits of our leisure and cultural assets. And, you know, at that point we're getting into touching on heritage, culture and leisure, but I think it's important that we pull out the Moat Park reference.
Would you like to vote on that one then, please? You like it? Well done. But I'd like you to put your hand up, just so that I don't, you know, that I didn't see right. Okay then. So 4, voting for? Well done, everybody. That was the last one? Oh, I was getting excited then. Okay.
So your last area, very much within this committee's terms of reference, is what's termed in the document as Home for Everyone and what you've recommended be changed. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Right. So this was from another committee that...
This is one that sits with both you and SPST.
Yeah. And can I just ask you to recap on what was discussed at strategic planning?
The main change made at SPST was to add in an additional under "we will," I think it was develop and deliver a housing standards strategy, so a new document. Is it a different word? Implement, sorry.
Okay.
Develop and implement a housing standards strategy was added in by SPST.
Okay. Anybody coming in on that? Matt? Oh, sorry, John. Take my glasses off and I look that far. Sorry, John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Starting altogether with this one, A Home for Everyone, in the very first paragraph, we're quoting 163 new affordable homes were built in the borough in 2014-15. Haven't we got anything more up to date? That's 2 years ago.
Yeah, that would be updated.
Sorry?
My apologies, yeah. So if you'll see new text to be added, all of that needs to be updated because it is out of date. So we will update it when it comes to P&R.
Okay, thank you. Also going on with this, where we get to the "we will" bit, I'm coming back to my old bugbear again. 5th one down, deliver the affordable housing programme. What do you think the affordable housing programme is? You tell me what you think it is.
No, I'm quite happy because I thought we crossed it out. Oh, no.
Well, to my mind, it means the affordable housing programme is delivered through 2 routes, through the Section 106 route, through private developers delivering affordable housing on their sites, but also housing associations applying for grant directly from government and delivering a programme there, which we have a role in. I'm not saying whether, I agree that one should be in there or not. It might be a bit too sort of tactical level to be in this document, but that's my understanding of what it means.
Yeah, thank you for that. As you probably well know, William, the affordable housing programme should be split. People read that and they think, oh, great, but affordable housing programme is two things. One is affordable housing for buying, and one is affordable housing for renting. Now, everybody looks at that and a lot of people think that's automatically rented accommodation that is being built in this borough, and it's not. By far and away, it is not. This should be split. This actual delivered affordable housing programme should be split into two sections. One for affordable housing for people to buy, and one for affordable housing to be rented. We're creating a false impression with this, and there's no way I can accept that.
Yeah. I must also come in on similar to John's side. This again is this word homelessness, isn't it? Homelessness, where we have overcrowding, where we have, and it all comes under one title, which is very upsetting, because again you give people the wrong impression that it's only homeless people we help, but there's lots of forms of homelessness. Basically coming down to what it's just saying, people can't afford to buy, so they need to rent. So I wondered if I'll ask the officer to come back. Is there anything you want to come back on now, William, or Councillor Burton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I absolutely agree with you, Councillor Barnard. I think that it does create a false impression, but I'm going to bang the same drum that I've been banging since we started this agenda item, and actually say that the reference to affordable housing there is perhaps superfluous for the purposes of this document anyway, because these are all things that are addressed within the local plan. I'm saying there's no need to include that line, deliver the affordable, because that is included in our adoption and delivery of the local plan.
Yeah.
Now, our responsibility then as members is to ensure that those details that we want to see, where I quite agree with you, Councillor Barnard, are then included in that implementation. But it doesn't need to be in here. Take your point as well, Councillor Ring, that the homelessness action plan doesn't therefore need to refer to the several different types of homelessness that we take consideration for. It's detail that's not required here.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Mortimer.
Thank you. Perhaps I can help out here, because we have an addition to the we mean section. Okay, so, and it starts off with, I'll read the full one that we want to put in. Having enough homes to meet our residents' long-term needs with, long-term needs across a range of tenures, which must be affordable and economically sustainable for all our residents. So there we're talking about moving into a home and actually living in it and be able to afford to live in it. So that's what we're going to put in next.
Anybody?
Only to say, yeah, quite agree. I think if anything, it broadens the range and extent of this section. One other thing I would like to just throw into the mix here is I believe that SPST also added an additional section to We Will, which was a housing standards strategy. I also think that this is perhaps a superfluous reference, and we did discuss this briefly earlier. It is already captured in, I believe, the housing strategy. So if we make a council recommendation to that goes.
Can I just really ask if Councillor Barnard approves of the word tenures, because it's saying rentable or to buy, but not using those words, or would you rather have the words rent and buy? Can I just... I think it's very important when we are talking about affordable homes. I think it's a really spurious word to use, because you'll get some people that will go, that ain't affordable. And you'll get people going, absolutely cheap. Marvellous, I'm heading down to Maidstone. But what we perceive, or is perceived by the developers to be affordable, or government to be affordable, may not be. And I think it's a dangerous word to use. We have to use it, but I think we should use it, and I think what Councillor Barnard is saying is good. And I think rather than have the word tenures, we say to buy or to rent, and to rent, or something like that. So I think that's a good way all round and cross-party to say the same thing.
William, would you like to come in?
Yeah, you'd probably say to include homes for affordable rent and affordable home ownership. I think that would cover.
Okay, so could you just read that out again? Did you get what William said? Oh, sorry.
To include homes for affordable rent and affordable home ownership.
Yeah, that sounds better. Could you just read it back out for us, please?
Having enough homes to meet our residents' long-term needs, to include homes for affordable rent and affordable home ownership, which must be economically sustainable for all our residents. That's it. Full stop.
So, sorry, could we...
Quite happy with that, John? John, you quite happy with that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. That's exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
It might make it less clunky and a little looking like a solicitor's written it if we said these. So if we put a full stop after ownership and put these must be economically sustainable for all our residents. Because I think we're going to come quite soon to a position where people's mortgages are going to be the same amount it is to heat, get the sewage out, everything about that house. And we must be looking to the future of how long people are going to live in our houses that are delivered here. So we must make sure. We've lost Code 4 and 5 from our building strategy, if you like. So we must, I think it's on our, not necessarily just this committee, but we must make sure through our strategy and through planning that we deliver that in another way. And I think this is the start of how we can do that.
Okay. So can I vote on that particular one then? Are you happy with the changes? I can't keep looking at the screen because I can't see, darling. Sorry. Just recheck on it again. It won't hurt.
Having enough homes to meet our residents' long-term needs, to include homes for affordable rent and affordable home ownership. These must be economically sustainable for all our residents.
Okay. Just quickly, Matt.
Just for clarity, what we're voting on here is just the we mean section. Yes?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So everybody for? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Where are we next?
The next one is that we will deliver that one.
Yeah? Yes, please. Listen carefully, everyone.
The next change was deliver under we will, so this is 5th bullet point, deliver affordable housing to buy and deliver affordable housing to rent.
Self-explanatory. Quite happy with that? That backs up what we just... Yes? Councillor Burton?
Sorry, we're talking about the we will section now, yes? I thought the idea here is, and I might have misunderstood, that the idea of adjusting the we mean was to include the affordable housing to buy and rent element, but that under we will, we were deciding that therefore the reference to it is superfluous because it's included in the local plan and in the meaning of our objective.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So actually I'd like to propose that we delete that.
Yeah. Quite happy with that, everybody?
Yeah, okay, unanimous.
And, yep. Yep.
That's a bit blunt, wasn't it? The other recommendation put forward was basically a counter recommendation to SPST that this committee does not support the inclusion of a housing standards strategy as an addition to the we will section.
Yeah.
So that was put forward.
Yeah, quite happy with that. Okay.
So it's a counter recommendation to go to policy and resources, and it's a counter recommendation to SPST's one, which is that this committee does not support adding into the we will section, was it develop and implement a housing standards strategy. That's put forward.
So does that mean we don't have a housing?
No, we do.
Housing standards is actually included in the housing assistance policy.
Okay, William, you seem to want to come in.
Yeah, I think by housing standards, you know, you're getting into sort of size standards and all that kind of thing, aren't you? And you know, that's another big financial undertaking, something you've got to enforce. You know, so so you know, the idea is that the things that were in Code 4 that you referenced have now been incorporated into building regulations. So, you know, you're kind of getting away from this sort of myriad of different standards that people operate.
Okay.
So, you know, you might argue that we're kind of adding another layer of bureaucracy if we have our own Maidstone set of standards.
Sorry?
Sorry, are we commenting on the measured by? It's just off the screen. I don't know whether something's been deleted.
Oh, I'm measured by. No, that, yeah. That's for another day. Oh, sorry.
Under each section there is a measure by. At the moment it's been taken out because each committee has been asked to consider what they'd like in the measured by sections. So far, just to recap where we are, SPST, for example, decided they didn't want to do that yet. They want to wait till the strategic plan has been agreed and then each committee look at it. So that's one course of action that's been proposed, or we can look at it now. So it's
No, I think it's premature. I'd like to see where we're going first before we make, Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, so could we just go back? Could you read that out again, please, Angela? I'm sorry. I really need to know that everybody knows what's being stated.
So it's a counter recommendation to policy and resources that we do not add into the we will section, develop and implement a housing standards strategy.
Okay, so can we vote on that, please? Is everybody in agreement? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's five not. And sorry. Are you abstained? And 4 abstaining. Okay, so it's still passed. Okay then. Thank you so much. We finally got there. Well done. Well done. Thank you very much, you two. Much appreciated. Oh, sorry, Jade. Oh, there you go. Yeah, go. Please. one of our members needs to pop outside just for a couple of minutes. Would you be quite happy to go on, or would you like a comfort break?